this is day 4, and day 4 is going to be all about sleep. And it's one of those things where it seems really, really obvious, but yet sometimes we just don't get enough of it. And that really, really hurts us. I know for myself, I'm really sensitive when I don't get enough sleep. It really affects not only just like my overall energy, definitely because of that, my motivation is super affected by it. So I could have a whole lot of things I feel really excited to do. Because I'm tired and not with full energy, I'm like slumped. So I know that for me, I really need between 7 and 8 hours. And that's just a personal thing for me. And I've read loads of things and I've listened to people say you don't need that much sleep. But actually, I think we do. And I've read a lot of evidence to say that is true as well. And I just know from listening to my own body, that's what I personally need. In fact, I read an amazing book quite a few years ago now when it first came out. I think he's called Matthew Walker, and it was called Why We Sleep. And it was super interesting. And he really goes into the detail behind why we need longer amounts of sleep, and also about how, we're in this society where we're kind of all rigged to be this early morning person. And actually, there are three different kind of sleeping types. And if we're not the early type, we can feel judged like, there's something wrong with us. We've just got a difficult different circadian rhythm to those types. And I'm a bit of a later person, and all my life I'd been struggling to be, the early morning type, up like a lark. But because I'm not really ready to sleep at like 9 o'clock, I just couldn't really manage it. I remember being really an avid fan for a while of this guy called Robin Sharma, who has a book called The 5 a.m. Club. And I did it for about 6 months, but I had to cut out so many things out of my life that I really enjoyed to be able to do it. And I was super productive, and there was a lot of things that I've took from his ideas, but I've just put them in not at 5 a.m. because that just doesn't suit me. For example, last night I was at my bachata dance class, and I really love things like that, and that doesn't coincide with going to bed at 9 o'clock. So that's not for me. So I still need my 8 hours. So for me, I do find that going to bed anytime after midnight, even with 8 hours, is not good for me. It's much better getting to bed this side of midnight. But I'm not beating myself up about the time I go to bed as much as I am the amount of sleep that I get these days. So it's really individual, and that's what I want to give you permission for, is permission to be an individual. And of course, I work for myself, so I can be a bit more flexible. It is more difficult, isn't it, when you've got to get up and go to a day job. But anyway, what I've come across in my coaching world is that a lot of people, um, they really want to put in a good morning routine, and they get super upset because they're trying to put in this morning routine and it's not working. And often the reason why the morning routine is so difficult is because there's no nighttime routine. And the night routine, of course, precedes the morning routine. And so once we get the nighttime routine right, everything else can flow. And so when it comes to the book that I read something very interesting which really changed my habits, which is about caffeine. So I'm not a coffee drinker, but being English, I have about 20 cups of tea a day. I know, not that much anymore, but I used to. So now I switch to non-caffeinated tea after 2 p.m. in the afternoon, because after reading that book, he talks about it's not just a problem of getting to sleep, because I didn't have any problems in getting to sleep, but he said it's the quality of the sleep once you are sleeping that is affected by any caffeine that you have after 2 o'clock. And I thought, whoa, I would never have even thought that that was a problem for me, because I always had a cup of tea last thing at night and straight into bed. It's very much the English way to have a cuppa before you go to bed. So now I have a decaf tea, or I have a herbal tea. And I just find that my sleeping's so much more improved, which then makes me more bouncy in the morning, and I get out of bed with way more energy than I used to when I was drinking caffeine until bedtime. And so, I didn't I'm quite an extreme person, so I am one of the people go, okay, let's just stop doing that after 2 p.m. because I've read it. But I've learned over time, like I was saying the other day about the comfort zone and inching your way out of it, that if your last bit of caffeine is currently at like 9 p.m., like maybe you'll move it to 8 and then to 7 and just inch it back slowly, little by little, and replacing it with something else because it really does affect the quality of our sleep. Um, Obviously, we all know about screens, and these days it's so difficult because there's so many things we could be doing on our screens. I mean, Netflix, Neon, like so many different providers of entertainment, and it's right there on our phones, and we can watch it in any room, and we can walk from room to room. People, we even take them to the toilet. Super gross when you think about it, but I bet you've done it, right? So, like, we take them everywhere with us. They go and they move with us. So it's really difficult to put them down. But as you will be aware, like, this won't be new for you, but that blue light is super, super important to take out if you're a person who's having difficulty sleeping at night, particularly for those people, but for everyone, you know, and so it's about thinking what can you be doing differently in that hour before you want to go to sleep. What I mean, good old reading is amazing because it makes your eyes tired, doesn't it? Even if it was just a bit of journaling or listening to music, so you're listening rather than watching. It could be a podcast, so you could start sort of do something around the screen, but not where you're like in the blue light looking at it. You can also just help yourself if you can't stop watching the screen by making sure you've got night mode on, which is a little bit better than watching it like the same screen as you'd have in the day. But trying to think of different ways that you can pull yourself away from it just little by little by little. One of the things that I found really helpful is doing, guided relaxations at night. So we did the breath work in the session before in day 3, and so that's really good on a morning, but it's also really good on a night as well. So there are different ways that you can do different kinds of meditations and guided relaxations, and ones that are really good before bed as well, that are kind of like sleep meditations. And there's even music you can get now where you can play a playlist which helps you go to sleep as well, right? So there's lots of different things that we can do. So the technology is part of the problem, but it also can be part of the solution. And I do know that there's different apps that you can get with alarms, but I even set alarms on my phone when I'm trying to do new habits. And I know for me, when I was cutting out the screens at last minute before I went to bed, one thing that I started to do is set an alarm to say, get yourself into bed in the next half an hour. So then it was like, I'm like, okay, I need to be moving towards the bedroom, moving towards the bedroom. And so then once I was in the bedroom, I knew, okay, now I start my bedtime routine, pick up my book or whatever I was going to do on my relaxation. But I used the alarm to give me a bit of a warning. So whatever I was doing, I could be like, okay, yeah, I need to wrap this up now. Not like go to the bedroom now. So I just found that that was like my conscience, like it was really helpful for me to have that point of conscience of the alarm being that. And I was speaking to my son earlier because I noticed my son, he's 16, and he's gone from somebody who used to stay up trying to game to someone who just puts himself to bed really, like what I consider quite early. He's quite an early riser. So he puts himself to bed about 10 o'clock, 10:30 at the latest. And I was talking to him and I was like, what do you think was the major change for you? And he does jujitsu, but he also goes to the gym and started going to the gym with me like at the end of last year. And he said he was just so physically tired that he couldn't wait to get in bed. And he knows that he needs his 8 hours because, like me, if he doesn't get his 8 hours, he really suffers the next day. And so this is really about choosing you because it's about choosing how your future you is going to feel. And so we can be really conscious about our choices. Like, if I stay up and watch this movie, future me is going to pay the price. If I stay on this phone call for another hour talking when really I'd be better off in book with my relaxation, my nighttime routine, future me is going to pay the price. You can ask yourself those questions. If this me, if present me, has this cup of coffee at 9:30 at night, future me, tomorrow me is going to pay the price. And so by asking ourselves that question and being really conscious of what we're doing and realizing who are we choosing here? Are we choosing the temporary addicted us? Because that's what it is, all of this screen stuff. Um, are we choosing that present addiction, or are we going to choose the future us who's going to really benefit from the healthier decision that's in our best and highest good? And once we know that, we can start to add other little things in. And so I think when you're making changes, it's more about what you add in than what you take out. So we can start to add in maybe an extra walk, maybe something where we're just moving our body a little bit more so we do feel that little bit more tired at bedtime, because exercise and fresh air and nature is really good. Like, if you've ever been at the beach, which I'm sure you have, like, you come home and you just feel quite tired afterwards. Like, it's just that fresh air, that salty air. In fact, there are minerals in the water that will, if you dip your feet in, the magnesium alone will help you to sleep. So on that note, magnesium is really important, and so many of us are deficient in magnesium. When you've not taken a magnesium supplement before, though, you might find that if you take one, you do feel quite wiped out and knocked out by it, because it's actually what we need. So it's helping us to get the sleep that we actually already needed. So I know when I started to take magnesium, I was like, whoa, I feel like I'm drugged. I felt so tired, like I just couldn't wake up. So don't start with maybe taking a full tablet. Maybe start with a quarter or half. But it is very important, and get the high absorb ones, the ones that are high absorption, because there are ones that we don't really absorb into the bloodstream. So if you're not taking magnesium, have a check into that, because it can be a massive, massive help to getting good quality sleep. Um, Another thing, if you're a struggler of sleep, is taking a hot bath or going to your local hot pools if you've got one. I know for me that really helps relax me, helps relax all the muscles, or even like a late hours massage, something to really get the muscles relaxed as well. Or if you've got some muscle relaxant kind of balm or something you can be rubbing on, or if you can spray lavender on your pillow and use some aromas to help you, then that can be a really great addition as well. The other thing is, it's about doing this little by little. It's about being conscious of your schedule and going, have I overscheduled myself? Because sometimes if I get back in too late, there's no way I can go straight to sleep. I have to I have to have a bit of a wind down. So it's like, what time am I getting home from my activities? What do I do once I get home? And just getting more conscious about it, maybe setting those little alarms on your phone. But I really just wanted to have this conversation today because I couldn't really do a self care series without bringing up the topic of sleep. And seeing as it is a holiday day today, and I wanted to make it a shorter one, I thought this was a good time to talk about sleep. Some of us in the long weekend have had a very good sleep, I'm sure. But it is a really key component to choosing you, to choosing that future you. If you want to make all the other changes in your life, these little 1% changes, we are going to need our energy to do that. And it does start with the sleep. So anything that you can do. Some of my tips, if you've got other ones, please comment below. If you've got other tips that have really helped you to sleep that someone else could benefit from, then please share them, because I think it's super important. Anyway, I will bid you a farewell for today, and I will be back in the next session. So I'm going to be talking about hydration. So I'm doing all the basics in this first week. So we've done breath, we've done sleep, and we're going to do hydration, all crucial things. So lots of love, and I hope that you get a really good sleep tonight. And yeah, I'll see you next time.